What if I told you that there's a single book capable of transforming your financial reality forever? A book that contains the secret the financial elites have jealously guarded for decades. Would you believe me? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover could radically change your relationship with money and abundance. Has this ever happened to you? You wake up early, go to bed late, sacrifice time with your loved ones, and yet at the end of the month, the same story repeats itself. You barely make ends meet, debts pile up, and that sense of financial freedom vanishes like a mirage on the horizon. You're not alone in this struggle. I was exactly where you are now, exhausted, frustrated, and constantly wondering why wealth seemed to elude me, despite all my efforts. Followed all the conventional advice: save more, spend less, invest prudently. But something fundamental was failing. Does this situation sound familiar to you? What no one had told me, and what completely changed my life, is that true financial transformation doesn't begin with external strategies, but with a radical change in our consciousness about money. This audiobook I'm sharing with you today didn't just alter my way of thinking about wealth. It unlocked the secret code to manifest abundance naturally and sustainably without the constant struggle we're accustomed to. What you're going to discover now might surprise you because it contradicts almost everything you've been taught about how money really works. Maria, a single mother who applied these principles, multiplied her income threefold in less than 6 months. Carlos, an entrepreneur who had failed in 3 consecutive businesses, finally found the financial flow he had always sought. And Anna, who lived month to month in debt, now enjoys an economic freedom she never believed possible. These aren't isolated cases or people with privileged connections. They're ordinary individuals who discovered the same revealing secret that I'll share with you today. Money has its own language, a hidden code that responds to universal laws that very few know and even fewer know how to apply. And you know what's most fascinating? This transformative knowledge doesn't require years of study or extreme sacrifices. In fact, the people who struggle most for wealth are frequently those who move furthest away from it. Sounds contradictory, doesn't it? Prepare yourself, because we're about to delve into the origin of this extraordinary book and discover why it has been protected for so long by those who understood its true power. Before revealing this fascinating origin, I want to connect with you on a more personal level. If so far something I've shared has resonated within you, if you've felt that internal yes that recognizes a truth when it hears it, I'd love to know your story. Have you experienced that sensation of working tirelessly without seeing the financial results you deserve? If you're someone who senses there's a deeper truth about how prosperity really works, this channel is where we explore those hidden principles together. Hit that subscribe button to join our community of conscious creators who are ready to question everything they've been taught about money and abundance. Your experience could be exactly what someone else needs to read today. We are a community of seekers, people who sense there's more for us than the constant financial struggle. If you want to be part of this discovery journey together, your active participation here isn't just another number, it's energy, it's validation. It's a way of declaring to the universe that you're ready for a new understanding of abundance. Now, I want to go even deeper into this extraordinary book that has changed so many lives. Its origin dates back more than a century, when a prosperous businessman, after losing everything in a financial collapse, discovered that the true source of sustainable wealth didn't reside in external strategies, but in something much more fundamental and accessible to all of us. This man, whose name has been deliberately obscured by those who didn't want his teachings to spread, spent the next 7 years of his life in complete isolation. He wasn't studying just the obvious patterns of money, but its most essential and energetic nature. What's fascinating is that he wasn't seeking to recover his fortune. He was seeking to understand why some individuals seemed to attract abundance effortlessly, while others struggled their entire lives without ever achieving it. What he discovered was so revolutionary that he documented his findings in a manuscript that initially circulated only among a small circle of influential people. These individuals, applying the principles contained in these pages, experienced such profound transformations in their financial reality that they decided to protect this knowledge, considering it too powerful to be shared massively. And here lies the first revelation that will change your perception forever. Throughout your entire life, you've been taught that money is scarce, difficult to obtain, and requires constant sacrifice to achieve it. This is perhaps the most fundamental and damaging lie that has been programmed into our collective consciousness. Think about it for a moment. Since you were a child, you've heard phrases like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," "You have to work hard to earn a living," or "The rich get richer and the poor get poorer." These statements, repeated constantly, have become the invisible foundations upon which you've built your entire relationship with prosperity. The revolutionary truth this book reveals is that money, in its purest essence, is not a limited resource we must desperately compete for. It's rather an expression of energy that flows naturally toward those who understand its underlying laws. It's no coincidence that the same people who claim money is hard to get are precisely those for whom this self-fulfilling prophecy manifests day after day. The manuscript exposes with crystalline clarity that we've been looking at everything backwards. It's not that you must first work tirelessly to then perhaps enjoy abundance. It's that you must first align with the vibrational frequency of abundance so that the work you do naturally generates prosperous results. This complete inversion of the traditional paradigm is the gateway to a new dimension of financial possibilities. One of the most impactful stories in the book tells how two brothers, raised in exactly the same circumstances with equal education and opportunities, developed diametrically opposite financial realities. The first, firmly adhered to the belief in scarcity, lived in constant battle with money. The second, having discovered almost by accident the principles this manuscript reveals, experienced a financial fluidity that seemed almost magical to those observing from the outside. The crucial difference wasn't in their external actions, but in the energetic field from which they operated. And this is precisely the transformation the book facilitates, a radical change in your personal energetic field regarding money. Write in the comments, "Abundance is my natural state," to affirm this new understanding of money that we're awakening together. Now I want to go even deeper into understanding this first law of money that the manuscript reveals, because grasping it is fundamental for everything that will come after. This law establishes that money is not really a physical object, no matter how much we can touch it and count it. At its most essential level, it's an energetic pattern that responds with mathematical precision to your deepest mental and emotional patterns. This revelation has extraordinary implications for how we interact with our financial reality. To truly understand this first law of money, let me guide you through a simple but revealing mental exercise. I ask you to close your eyes for a moment if you're in a safe place to do so. Breathe deeply, and while you exhale, visualize money as you've understood it until now. If something I've shared so far has created that inner aha moment, that sense of recognizing a truth you've always known but couldn't articulate, tap that like button. It's not just for the algorithm, it's your way of affirming that these frequencies of understanding are resonating with your soul. What images appear? Bills and physical coins? A bank account with numbers? Or perhaps the sensation of effort and tension? Now, without judging what has emerged, observe what emotions accompany these images. Anxiety, scarcity, worry, or maybe a subtle feeling that it's never enough. These emotional responses aren't casual or insignificant. They are precise vibrational codes that you're constantly emitting to the unified field of consciousness. And that field is responding with experiences that match exactly with that frequency. This manuscript reveals something astonishing. Your thoughts about money aren't simply abstract ideas floating in your mind. They are tangible creative forces that literally sculpt your financial reality. Every time you think, "I can't afford this," or "I always lack money," you're not describing your reality. You're actively programming it. The transformation begins when you understand that you can consciously reprogram this system. The book teaches a fascinating technique that completely reverses this process. Instead of allowing your current circumstances to define your thoughts about money, you begin to deliberately cultivate thoughts of abundance that will inevitably alter your external circumstances. This isn't naive positivism or magical thinking, it's quantum science applied to your finances. When you modify the vibrational pattern of your thoughts and emotions related to money, you literally alter the field of possibilities that will manifest in your experience. One of the most impactful discoveries the manuscript reveals is that this process occurs regardless of whether you're conscious of it or not. Every person on this planet is manifesting their financial reality in perfect accordance with their internal programming. The only difference between those who live in abundance and those who constantly struggle is the set of vibrational codes they're emitting, not their external circumstances, their education, or their connections. Let me share a revelation that many manuscript readers describe as their awakening moment. Money doesn't flow to you based on how much you need it, how much you desire it, or how much you work to get it. It flows to you based solely on your capacity to tune into its energetic essence. This is a crucial distinction that completely dismantles the effort-reward paradigm we've been instilled with. Think of it like tuning a frequency on a radio. No matter how much you want to hear a particular station, if your dial is tuned to 80.5 FM, it's physically impossible for you to receive the transmission occurring on 103.7 FM. In the same way, if your personal energetic field is tuned to the frequency of never enough, it's literally impossible for you to receive the abundance transmissions that are available at every moment. The manuscript offers a precise protocol to recalibrate your internal dial step by step until you're naturally tuned to unlimited prosperity frequency. And what's most revolutionary is that this recalibration doesn't require years of practice or iron discipline. It can begin to manifest in days, sometimes even in hours, once you understand the underlying mechanism. Behind the scenes of this transformation lies a profound understanding that challenges everything we've been taught about. The relationship between effort and results. The real masters of abundance have discovered something that the struggling masses haven't: the difference between working hard and aligned effort. Write in the comments, "I'm recalibrating my frequency," to declare your openness to this new understanding of financial flow. Now I want to show you the second revealing secret that the book exposes, because it perfectly complements this first law we've just explored. It's about a radically new understanding of the relationship between your deepest identity and your capacity to attract wealth. The manuscript expresses it with demolishing clarity. Money doesn't come to you for what you do, but for who you are. This apparently simple distinction contains a truth so profound that it has transformed the lives of thousands of people who have applied this principle. Think about it. Our society is obsessed with action, with doing more, working more hours, undertaking more projects, pursuing more opportunities. We live in a constant state of doing that exhausts us, while promising a reward that seems to move away with each step we take. What the book reveals is that this approach is completely inverted. The people who experience sustainable abundance aren't doing things fundamentally different from what you do. They are being a different version of themselves. Their internal state of being, their essential identity, is aligned with prosperity, and their actions simply flow from that state. Imagine you're trying to cultivate apples, but you've planted orange seeds. No matter how much you fertilize, water, or protect that tree, it will never produce apples because its essential nature, its DNA, is programmed to produce oranges. In the same way, if your inner identity is programmed for scarcity, all your actions, no matter how strategic they may be, will only produce more scarcity experiences. We're building something special here, a space where ancient wisdom meets practical manifestation, where spiritual awakening and financial freedom walk hand in hand. Subscribe to be part of this journey of discovery, because what we're uncovering together could transform not just your bank account, but your entire relationship with reality itself. The audiobook offers a revolutionary method to recalibrate your identity at a cellular level, literally reprogramming your energetic DNA so you become a natural magnet for wealth. It's not about superficial visualization techniques or repetitive affirmations. It's a profound transformation in how you perceive yourself in relation to universal abundance. And here's where we encounter the invisible trap that keeps most people caught in eternal cycles of financial struggle. This trap is so subtle, so omnipresent, that most don't even suspect its existence. It's about subconscious programming that systematically sabotages any attempt to improve our financial situation. Recent studies in neuroscience have revealed that up to 95% of our daily decisions are made by our subconscious, not by our conscious mind. This means you can have the best intentions, the clearest objectives, and the most brilliant strategies in your conscious mind. But if your subconscious programming is aligned with scarcity, you'll be constantly sabotaging your own progress without even realizing it. The manuscript exposes with surgical precision the 4 most common subconscious patterns that sabotage prosperity. The first, and perhaps most destructive, is the belief that I don't deserve or am not worthy of exceptional abundance. This belief can manifest in incredibly subtle ways, from small, self-destructive decisions to mysteriously lost opportunities at the last moment. The second pattern is the unconscious association between wealth and negativity. Many of us were programmed from childhood with messages like, "The rich are selfish," "Money is the root of all evil," or "Wealth only comes at the cost of others." These associations create a devastating internal conflict. Consciously, we want prosperity, but subconsciously we reject it because we've linked it with becoming bad or selfish people. The third pattern is what the book calls the financial glass ceiling, an invisible limit that our subconscious establishes based on our reference models. If you grew up in an environment where no one earned more than a certain amount, your subconscious mind may have established that level as the maximum allowed for you, blocking any attempt to significantly surpass it. The fourth pattern is perhaps the most insidious: addiction to financial drama. Many people have so deeply incorporated the identity of fighter or survivor that they paradoxically feel uncomfortable when things begin to flow easily. Their sense of identity is so linked to struggle that they unconsciously create crises to reaffirm who they believe they are. What's revolutionary about the manuscript is that it not only exposes these patterns with a clarity that's almost disturbing when you recognize yourself in them, but it offers precise tools to permanently deactivate them. The journey of transformation requires us to face these hidden saboteurs that operate in the shadows of our consciousness, making decisions that keep us trapped in cycles we don't understand. Write in the comments, "I'm deactivating my sabotage," as a first conscious step to interrupt these limiting cycles. Let me share a personal experience that illustrates the transformative power of these principles. I vividly remember the exact moment when everything changed for me. I had spent years studying all kinds of financial strategies, reading investment books, attending business seminars, and following to the letter the advice of recognized experts. However, my financial reality remained practically the same, with small improvements followed by frustrating setbacks. One afternoon, while rereading this manuscript for the third time, something clicked inside me. I was in the section where it explains that our financial results are simply an external reflection of our internal vibration. Suddenly, all the pieces fit together in an instant of crystalline clarity. I understood that I had been approaching the entire money issue from a fundamentally wrong perspective. I realized that despite all my correct actions in the external world, I was still operating from a vibrational frequency of scarcity. I could feel it clearly, that subtle anxiety when checking my bank account, that tension in my stomach when paying bills, that constant fear that something would go wrong and I'd lose the little I had built. I was doing all the right things, but I was doing them from an energetic place completely misaligned with prosperity. That moment of revelation, that instant of awakening, changed absolutely everything. Not because I suddenly knew what to do differently, but because I finally understood who I needed to be differently. And here's where the second law of money that the manuscript reveals with such precision comes into play. The universe responds to your vibrational frequency, not to your superficial desires. This law is so fundamental that once you truly understand it, it completely transforms your approach to prosperity. Imagine you're constantly transmitting an energetic signal, like a radio station broadcasting on a specific frequency. This signal isn't determined by what you say you want or by your conscious objectives. It's determined by your deepest vibrational state, by the combination of your habitual thoughts, recurring emotions, and fundamental beliefs about yourself and the world. When you hit that like button, you're not just supporting this content, you're energetically declaring your readiness to receive these teachings. It's a small but powerful act of receptivity that aligns you with the very principles we're exploring. Your engagement creates a vibrational bridge for others who need to hear this message. The universe, following laws as precise as mathematics, can only respond to you on the same frequency you're emitting. If you're vibrating on the frequency of never enough, the universe will respond with experiences that confirm exactly that. It will never be enough, no matter how much you accumulate or achieve. What's revolutionary about the manuscript is that it offers a systematic, step-by-step method to permanently elevate your financial vibrational frequency. It's not about temporary manipulations or motivation techniques that work for a few days and then leave you returning to your habitual state. It's a deep recalibration of your energetic field that permanently alters the signal you emit to the unified field of consciousness. Let me explain this with a metaphor I found extraordinarily revealing. Imagine your financial life is like a thermostat. No matter how much you try to temporarily heat the room with a new job, a salary increase, or a stroke of luck, the thermostat will always return to the temperature it has programmed. The key to sustainable change isn't temporarily heating the room, but reprogramming the thermostat itself. This book shows you exactly how to access the internal controls of your financial thermostat and recalibrate it to a completely new level. What's fascinating is that once your internal thermostat is adjusted to a new setting, the universe automatically begins to respond by reorganizing circumstances, attracting opportunities and manifesting resources that perfectly match your new frequency. In my personal case, the changes began to manifest with a speed that was almost hard to believe. They weren't just external financial improvements, but a complete transformation in my relationship with money. The anxiety was replaced by a tranquil confidence. Scarcity gave way to a sense of sufficiency that didn't depend on any specific amount in my bank account. And most surprisingly, opportunities began to appear in my life as if they had always been there, simply waiting for me to elevate my frequency enough to perceive them. The journey of inner transformation reveals layers of conditioning we never knew existed, patterns so deeply embedded that they felt like immutable truths about reality itself. Breaking through these barriers requires more than willpower. It demands a complete reorientation of our relationship with the fundamental forces that govern abundance. Write in the comments, "I'm elevating my frequency," to declare your intention to tune into this new vibration of abundance. Now, I want to share with you the third crucial element that the manuscript reveals: the power of financial language and how the words you use daily are literally programming your economic reality. This aspect is so profound that many readers describe it as the most impactful revelation of the entire book. You see, words are not simply sounds or symbols we use to communicate. They are vibrational patterns with specific frequencies that, when pronounced or thought repeatedly, create neural grooves in our brain and energetic patterns in our personal electromagnetic field. These frequencies, once established, attract resonant experiences toward us with mathematical precision. Think about it for a moment. What are the phrases you habitually use when talking about money? "I can't afford it." "That's too expensive for me." "Money doesn't grow on trees." "At the end of the month, I'm always tight." These apparently innocent expressions are actually direct commands to your subconscious and to the quantum field that surrounds you. If today's revelations have sparked something within you, if you feel called to dive deeper into these consciousness principles, I invite you to subscribe. This is just the beginning of what we'll explore together about the intersection between awareness and abundance, between inner transformation and outer prosperity. The manuscript explains that every time you say, "I can't afford it," you're not simply describing a temporary reality. You're issuing a creative declaration that programs your energetic field to continue manifesting that same experience of limitation. It's as if you were continuously writing the same script for the movie of your financial life, and then being surprised when the plot repeats over and over again. The transformation begins when you start recognizing these limiting expressions and consciously replace them with a new financial vocabulary. It's not about deceiving yourself or denying your current reality. It's about deliberately choosing language that opens possibilities instead of closing them, that expands your field of action instead of contracting it. For example, the book suggests replacing "I can't afford it" with "How can I create the resources to acquire this if I really want it?" Observe how this simple reformulation transforms a closed statement of impossibility into an open question that invites creativity and exploration of possibilities. Your brain, which is fundamentally a problem-solving machine, will immediately begin searching for answers to this new question, activating neurological resources that remained dormant under the old paradigm. And here's where one of the most powerful and practical elements of the manuscript comes into play: the 7-day formula. This systematic protocol has proven to radically transform the relationship with money of those who apply it faithfully, often with tangible results that begin to manifest before even completing the 7 days. The protocol is designed with almost scientific precision. Each day focuses on dismantling a specific aspect of your limiting programming about money and replacing it with a new vibrational pattern aligned with abundance. What's fascinating is that it doesn't require you to change anything in your external world during these 7 days. The work occurs completely in the realm of your consciousness, and yet the effects inevitably manifest in your external reality. The first day of the protocol focuses on conscious observation. For 24 hours, you simply observe without judging or trying to change anything. Your habitual language about money. You become a detective of your own patterns, noticing every expression, every thought, every emotional reaction related to your finances. This neutral observation is the first crucial step because you can't transform what you don't consciously recognize. The following days guide you through a meticulous process of linguistic detoxification and vibrational reprogramming. The manuscript offers specific affirmations, guided visualizations, and practical exercises for each day, calibrated to work synergistically and create a systematic change in your energetic field. What makes this protocol so effective is that it works simultaneously on multiple levels of consciousness. It's not limited to reprogramming your conscious mind, but accesses directly the deepest layers of your subconscious, where your fundamental beliefs about money and abundance reside. One participant in the program described her experience as awakening from a hypnotic trance she didn't even know she was experiencing. By the 5th day, she began noticing inexplicable financial synchronicities. An old client who reappeared unexpectedly, an opportunity that arose out of nowhere, a forgotten refund that arrived at the perfect moment. By the 7th day, her perception of money had changed so fundamentally that she described the sensation as seeing in color after a lifetime in black and white. The journey through these 7 days reveals the intricate web of beliefs and assumptions that have been operating beneath the surface of our conscious awareness, silently shaping every financial decision and outcome in our lives. Write in the comments, "I'm ready for the 7 days," as a declaration of your willingness to begin this profound transformation. Now, I want to go even deeper into the second revealing secret that the manuscript exposes with a clarity that has transformed the lives of thousands of people. This fundamental secret completely redefines our understanding of the true nature of money. Money is nothing more than a perfect mirror that reflects your relationship with yourself, not with the external world. That like button below represents more than appreciation. It's your energetic signature saying yes to transformation. When consciousness recognizes consciousness, when truth resonates with truth, that simple gesture becomes part of the manifestation process itself. Click it and feel the alignment. This revelation is so profound that when you finally assimilate it at a cellular level, it instantly transforms your entire experience with prosperity. Think about it. We've been conditioned to believe that our financial situation depends on external factors: the economy, our job, the market, the competition, the available opportunities. However, the manuscript demonstrates with irrefutable examples that people in identical external circumstances can experience completely opposite financial realities. Why can two professionals with the same training, in the same industry, with comparable skills, have radically different financial results? Why do some people seem to attract lucrative opportunities without apparent effort, while others struggle constantly despite their best efforts? The fundamental difference isn't in the external world, but in their internal relationship with themselves. Money, in its purest essence, is simply energy that amplifies and makes visible your self-perceived value. If internally you don't feel worthy of exceptional abundance, money, that impeccable mirror, will faithfully reflect that self-image, manifesting as financial limitation, lost opportunities, or cycles of almost achievement that never quite fully materialize. The good news is that by understanding this fundamental dynamic, you gain the power to consciously transform it. If money is simply a reflection of your relationship with yourself, then the path to unlimited abundance begins with an internal transformation of how you perceive, value, and respect yourself. The manuscript offers specific exercises to recalibrate this internal relationship, to heal the wounds of devaluation that most of us carry from childhood, and to establish a new self-image founded on your inherent value, not on external conditions or achievements. When this transformation occurs, the change in your financial reality isn't simply probable, it's mathematically inevitable. And here's where one of the most counterintuitive but powerful techniques the book reveals comes into play: the prosperous void technique. This revolutionary practice contradicts almost everything we've been taught about how to attract abundance. Conventional wisdom tells us that to obtain more, we must do more, strive harder, pursue with greater intensity, accumulate more credentials, gather more contacts. In essence, we've been programmed to operate from a constant state of energetic pursuit. However, this pursuit orientation paradoxically creates the perfect vibrational context for abundance to continue eluding us. The prosperous void technique completely reverses this paradigm. Instead of desperately pursuing prosperity, it teaches you to consciously create an energetic space, a void that abundance can naturally fill. It's a practical application of a fundamental physical principle. Nature abhors a vacuum and will seek to fill it automatically. Think of it as the difference between chasing someone who's running away from you versus creating a space so attractive that person will naturally gravitate toward you without effort. Pursuit creates resistance. Attractive void creates natural flow. The manuscript guides step by step in creating this prosperous void through specific practices that transcend intellectual understanding and access directly your energetic field. These practices include conscious breathing techniques that literally alter your biochemistry, guided visualizations that reprogram your neural circuits, and daily rituals that recalibrate your vibrational frequency. What's fascinating about this technique is that it operates from the central paradox the book reveals. The less you desperately pursue wealth, the more naturally it flows toward you. It's not about passivity or resignation, but about an active state of aligned receptivity that positions you as an irresistible magnet for abundance. One practitioner described her experience with the prosperous void technique as stopping rowing against the current and finally allowing the river of prosperity to carry her effortlessly. Within weeks, opportunities she had pursued unsuccessfully for years began manifesting spontaneously, as if they had always been destined for her. This fundamental shift in your relationship with abundance, from pursuit to magnetic attraction, represents a transformation in your consciousness journey that transcends the merely financial. The mastery of creating energetic space, rather than chasing external outcomes, becomes a foundational skill that influences every area of your existence. The deeper truth emerges that we've been approaching prosperity from a place of fundamental misunderstanding about how the universe actually operates and responds to human consciousness. Write in the comments, "I'm creating my prosperous void," to declare your willingness to experiment with this new way of relating to abundance. Now, I want to create a moment of pause because what I'm about to share contradicts fundamentally everything you've been taught about how wealth works. This revelation is so counterintuitive, so opposite to the programming we've all received, that I need to ask you, are you truly prepared for this truth? Once you hear it, your perception of money will never be the same again. The third law of money that the manuscript reveals with astonishing clarity is perhaps the most revolutionary. Money flows toward those who know how to receive it, not toward those who struggle to get it. This law directly challenges the dominant paradigm of effort-reward that has been engraved in our collective psyche for generations. From our earliest childhood, we've been conditioned to believe that the value of something is directly related to how much it costs us to get it, that reward is proportional to effort, that sacrifice and struggle are inevitable requirements for prosperity. This programming is so deep that it has become part of our basic identity. We are workers, we are fighters, we earn our living. But what if this entire belief structure were fundamentally wrong? What if the constant struggle for money were precisely what creates the perfect vibration for money to continue eluding us? The manuscript exposes a disconcerting truth. Effort and struggle generate a vibrational frequency of resistance that literally repels abundance. When you're in a state of constant struggle, you're emitting the energetic frequency of "I don't have and I need," which the universe interprets faithfully as a declaration of lack that must be maintained. The transformation occurs when you understand that the real skill isn't knowing how to pursue money, but how to receive it. This receptivity isn't passive. It's an active state of vibrational alignment that positions your energetic field in perfect resonance with abundance. Think of it as learning to sail instead of rowing. The rower is using his strength to fight against the current, exhausting himself in the process. The sailor, on the other hand, learns to align with the wind and currents, allowing forces much more powerful than his muscular effort to propel him toward his destination. The manuscript offers precise tools to develop this capacity for financial navigation, the ability to tune into the natural currents of abundance that have always been available, but that most don't perceive due to their focus on struggle and effort. One of the most powerful practices the book teaches is abundant receptivity meditation. Unlike other visualization techniques that focus on desiring or yearning for something you don't have, this practice guides you to enter the vibrational state of having already received. You're not asking for prosperity. You're tuning into the frequency of someone who already lives in abundance. This subtle but profound shift in your energetic orientation, from seeking to receiving, from pursuing to attracting, from struggling to allowing, creates a fundamental transformation in your vibrational field that the universe cannot ignore. For centuries, the deepest spiritual traditions have taught a truth that quantum science is just beginning to validate, that we are, in essence, receptive beings. Our consciousness is fundamentally receptive. We constantly receive information through our senses, thoughts through our mind, inspiration through our intuition. And yet, when it comes to money, we've been programmed to abandon this essential receptive nature and adopt a posture of struggle and effort. The manuscript guides you to return to your natural state of prosperous receptivity, the state of being that allows you to become a channel without resistance for abundance to flow toward and through you. This state not only transforms your financial reality, but frees you from the heavy burden of believing you must constantly struggle to deserve prosperity. One participant described it perfectly. "I went from feeling like I had to conquer the mountain of wealth to realizing I had always been at the summit. I just needed to open my eyes to see it." Her financial transformation was as dramatic as her shift in perspective. In less than 3 months, she multiplied her income by 4 while working fewer hours and experiencing more joy than ever before. This third law of money represents perhaps the most radical paradigm inversion the book offers. The understanding that abundance isn't something you chase, but something you learn to gracefully receive. Behind this revelation lies an even deeper understanding about the nature of human consciousness and its relationship to the fundamental forces that govern material manifestation in our reality. Write in the comments, "I'm learning to receive," to declare your openness to this new way of relating to abundance. This third law leads us directly to demystify one of the most ingrained and limiting beliefs about prosperity, the myth of hard work. This myth holds that substantial wealth is impossible without extreme sacrifice, deprivations, and years of exhausting effort. It's a narrative we've been told since childhood, and that forms part of the very fabric of our society. However, the manuscript exposes a crucial distinction that changes everything: the difference between hard work and aligned effort. Hard work, as it's been sold to us, implies struggle, resistance, and frequently movement in directions that go against our essential nature. It's like constantly swimming against the current. You might eventually advance, but at an enormous cost of energy and vitality. Aligned effort, on the other hand, is a completely different experience. It's not about working less, but about working from a place of natural resonance with your unique gifts and with the energetic currents that are already flowing in your favor. It's like swimming with the current. You still need to move, but each stroke takes you much farther with much less wear. What's revolutionary about the concept of aligned effort is that it challenges the correlation we've established between suffering and value. We've been programmed to believe that if something comes easily, if we feel energized and alive while doing it, somehow it's worth less than if it costs us blood, sweat, and tears. This programming is perhaps one of the most insidious sabotages to our natural prosperity. The manuscript reveals that truly prosperous people aren't those who work hardest in the traditional sense, but those who have discovered their zone of aligned effort, that space where their natural talents, their passions, and market needs perfectly intersect. At this convergence point, prosperity flows not as a result of struggle, but as a natural consequence of alignment. Think of people like Warren Buffett, who has often said he hits the snooze button every morning and jumps out of bed because he loves what he does. Or content creators who transform their passion into digital empires while saying they feel like they've never worked a day in their lives. These aren't anomalies or exceptional cases. They're examples of people who have discovered the transformative power of aligned effort. The book not only exposes this limiting myth, but offers a practical framework for discovering your own zone of aligned effort. That sweet spot where your authentic expression meets natural abundance. And perhaps most liberating is that this discovery doesn't require abandoning your current career or making drastic changes immediately. It begins with an internal shift in how you relate to what you're already doing. To facilitate this internal transformation, the manuscript introduces a powerful practice known as the millionaire meditation. Unlike traditional meditations that seek to quiet the mind, this specific technique is designed to actively reprogram your subconscious to naturally align with the vibrational frequency of abundance. The practice begins with a rhythmic breathing process that literally alters your biochemistry, elevating your brain frequency to an alpha-theta state, where the subconscious becomes extraordinarily receptive to new programming. In this state of elevated receptivity, the manuscript guides through a specific sequence of visualizations and sensory impressions that don't just allow you to imagine prosperity, but to vividly experience it as if it were already manifested in your reality. What's fascinating about this technique is that it transcends the superficial visualization that many manifestation methods propose. It's not simply about seeing what you desire, but about completely immersing yourself in the sensory and emotional experience of already having it, to the point that your nervous system can't distinguish between that internal experience and external reality. Modern neuroscience has validated what this manuscript has taught for decades, that the brain doesn't fundamentally distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real experience. Both create the same neural patterns, release the same neurotransmitters, and establish the same neurological circuits. In essence, by practicing the millionaire meditation, you're literally installing the neural wiring of prosperity in your brain. One of the most transformative aspects of this practice is that it gradually dissolves the dissonance between your conscious desire for prosperity and any contradictory subconscious programming. It creates a state of internal coherence where all levels of your being are finally aligned with the same frequency of abundance. Regular practitioners of this meditation report not only changes in their external financial circumstances, but a profound transformation in their internal experience of money. Anxiety is replaced by tranquil confidence. Scarcity gives way to a constant sense of sufficiency, and perhaps most liberating, the identity of struggler is gradually replaced by the identity of natural receiver of abundance. The journey through this internal recalibration reveals the sophisticated mechanisms by which consciousness shapes material reality. operating through principles that bridge ancient wisdom and cutting-edge scientific understanding. Write in the comments, "I want to meditate like a millionaire," to signal your willingness to explore this technique that could fundamentally transform your relationship with prosperity. To see the real impact of these principles in action, let me share some transformation stories that vividly illustrate how this knowledge has changed ordinary lives in extraordinary ways. Maria, a 42-year-old single mother, had spent over a decade working as an administrative assistant, always struggling to make ends meet. She had tried numerous systems to improve her financial situation, from additional jobs to multi-level marketing schemes, but always ended up in the same place, exhausted and barely surviving. After applying the 7-day protocol, she experienced what she describes as a seismic shift in her relationship with money. What's fascinating is that Maria didn't change jobs or receive any unexpected inheritance. The change began subtly. She noticed she was making decisions from a different place. She began valuing her skills in a new way. She dared to ask for a salary review, something she had never done before. And to her surprise, not only did she get it, but her boss offered to train her for a position of greater responsibility. In less than 6 months, her income doubled. And more importantly, her constant sense of struggle was replaced by a natural flow of abundance that continues expanding. Carlos, a 38-year-old entrepreneur, had the classic pattern of almost success. He would launch promising projects that initially generated enthusiasm only to see them fade just when they seemed about to take off. This cycle had repeated so many times that he had begun to believe he was financially cursed. The revelation that transformed his life was understanding that he was operating from a subconscious identity of struggler, not prosperous person. His internal narrative required struggle to validate his worth. Through the identity recalibration technique the manuscript teaches, Carlos began dismantling this limiting programming. The crucial change occurred when he recognized that he felt unconsciously uncomfortable with sustained success, as if he didn't deserve it or was betraying his humble origins. By resolving this internal dissonance, his next project not only took off, but maintained a constant growth trajectory. Today, 2 years later, his company generates 7 times the income he had ever achieved previously, and most revealing, he describes it as surprisingly easy compared to his previous struggles. Anna, a 55-year-old professional who had always earned enough but never experienced true abundance, discovered she had been subconsciously associating wealth with negative values like greed and insensitivity. Although she consciously desired prosperity, her deeper programming believed that becoming truly prosperous meant becoming the type of person she despised. The value-wealth decoupling process the manuscript teaches allowed her to finally resolve this internal conflict. She understood that wealth was simply a neutral tool, not an indicator of moral character. This understanding unleashed a torrent of abundance she describes as both internal and external. On the financial plane, in less than a year, she tripled her net worth. But what she considers most valuable is the psychological freedom of no longer feeling conflict between her financial aspirations and her personal values. These stories illustrate a consistent pattern. External transformation always follows internal transformation. And this leads us directly to the third revealing secret the manuscript exposes with a clarity that has changed paradigms for thousands of readers. Money is not the final goal, but a natural byproduct of your personal evolution. This vital paradox completely inverts our conventional understanding of wealth. Most of us have been programmed to believe that first we must accumulate money to then evolve, to have the freedom, security, time, and resources that will allow us to grow as individuals. The manuscript reveals that this equation is fundamentally inverted. True sustainable prosperity is always an external reflection of your level of internal evolution. It's not something you pursue directly, but something that manifests naturally when you commit to your own growth, when you dare to expand your perceived limits, when you align your actions with your most authentic essence. This shift in perspective is profoundly liberating. It means you don't need to obsess over the external mechanisms of wealth generation. Instead, you can focus on the much more powerful question: how can I evolve to become the person who naturally attracts and sustains the abundance I desire? This is perhaps the most revolutionary inversion the book offers. The journey of consciousness expansion becomes the primary path, with material abundance emerging as its natural expression rather than its ultimate destination. Write in the comments, "I'm evolving toward abundance," to declare your commitment to this transformational path. Now, I want to share with you a practical exercise extracted directly from the manuscript. A simple yet extraordinarily powerful technique you can begin applying immediately after finishing this video. It doesn't require any special equipment, just a few minutes of your time, but its potential impact on your energetic field is profound. It's called prosperity breathing, and it works by simultaneously activating your parasympathetic nervous system, responsible for the rest and digest state, while recalibrating your vibrational frequency related to money. This combination creates an optimal state of aligned receptivity that begins dismantling subconscious blocks to abundance. Find a quiet place where you can sit comfortably for a few minutes without interruptions. Place one hand over your heart and the other over your abdomen. Close your eyes and begin breathing deeply, inhaling through your nose for 4 seconds, holding the air for 7 seconds, and exhaling slowly through your mouth for 8 seconds. With each inhalation, imagine you're breathing in a brilliant golden light, the very essence of universal abundance. Visualize this golden light first filling your lungs, then expanding through your chest, and finally permeating every cell of your body. With each exhalation, imagine you're releasing all limiting beliefs, fears, and scarcity patterns you've been carrying perhaps for decades. Observe how these old patterns leave your body like a dark mist that dissolves into nothingness. Continue this breathing rhythm for at least 5 minutes, maintaining the visualization of receiving golden abundance and releasing dark limitation. At the end of the exercise, make a powerful internal declaration: I'm a natural channel for abundance to flow toward me and through me. I receive with gratitude and give with joy. This is my essential nature. What's extraordinary about this technique is that it combines multiple levels of transformation simultaneously. It recalibrates your nervous system, reprograms your subconscious, and aligns your energetic field with the frequency of prosperity. Practiced consistently for just 21 days, this exercise can literally rewrite your neural patterns related to money. One participant, who applied only this technique without implementing any other strategy from the book, reported that in just 2 weeks, she began noticing tangible changes, unexpected opportunities, casual conversations that opened new financial possibilities, and even a forgotten refund that arrived at the perfect moment. But more important than these external changes was the internal transformation she experienced, a sense of peace and confidence in relation to money that she had never known before. And this leads us directly to another crucial revelation the manuscript exposes: the devastating trap of delayed gratification, especially when applied to prosperity. This mentality of, "I'll be happy when I'm rich," is exactly the vibrational pattern that guarantees abundance will continue eluding you, no matter how much you accumulate externally. You see, when you adopt the posture of, "I'll be happy when," you're vibrational declaring several things simultaneously. First, that you're not happy now, which creates an energetic field of lack. Second, that your happiness depends on an external condition which cedes your power to circumstances outside your control. And third, that abundance is something separate from you that must be pursued and captured, which creates resistance in the unified field. The manuscript reveals an apparently paradoxical but transformative truth. Happiness and the internal sensation of abundance are not the result of external wealth. They are its vibrational precursors. In other words, you must first enter the emotional and energetic state of prosperity to manifest it in your external reality. Think about it. When you postpone your happiness until some future point when you've accumulated a certain amount of wealth, you're literally programming a state of perpetual lack. You're telling the unified field, I don't have enough now and I won't have enough until I reach this arbitrary goal. The universe, responding perfectly to your vibration of I don't have enough, will continue reflecting exactly that experience in your reality. The transformative inversion the book offers is to begin deliberately cultivating the emotional states of abundance, fullness, and gratitude now, regardless of your current external circumstances. By doing so, you establish the vibrational frequency that naturally attracts resonant experiences of prosperity. This isn't self-suggestion technique or magical thinking. It's quantum physics applied to your personal energetic field. Remember, the universe doesn't respond to your desires or requests. It responds impeccably to your dominant vibrational frequency. The breakthrough comes when you understand that you can consciously choose to inhabit the vibrational state of abundance right now, in this moment. Regardless of what your bank account shows, the decision to break free from delayed gratification and embrace energetic prosperity in the present moment represents a fundamental shift in how you relate to the flow of abundance in your life. Write in the comments, "My abundance is now," to declare your commitment to this powerful internal recalibration. Now, I want to go even deeper into a fundamental aspect that the manuscript reveals: the extraordinary power of decision and how this can transform your relationship with abundance, even when your external circumstances seem not to have changed at all. This revolutionary understanding is perhaps one of the most powerful keys the book offers. The word decision comes from the Latin decidere, which literally means to cut and separate. When you make a true decision, you're cutting all alternative possibilities and completely aligning your energy with a specific direction. The manuscript reveals that there's an astronomical difference between wanting prosperity and deciding prosperity. Most people operate perpetually in the realm of wanting. They desire more abundance, hope for more abundance, even work to obtain more abundance. But very few people make the irrevocable decision to be prosperous. This subtle but profound distinction literally changes the vibrational frequency from which you're operating. The book teaches a transformative process for making decisions from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. Even when, and this is crucial, your external circumstances don't seem to support that posture. It's about a radical act of internal alignment that transcends the apparent conditions of your current reality. Think about it this way. When you make decisions from scarcity, those decisions invariably create more experiences of limitation. You decide not to invest in your growth because you can't afford it, which guarantees you'll continue not being able to afford it. You choose not to seek better opportunities because there aren't enough, which ensures you'll continue experiencing insufficiency. It's a perfect cycle of self-fulfilling prophecy. The manuscript offers a revolutionary technique called decision from the future, where you learn to consciously position yourself at a point in the future where abundance has already manifested, and from that expanded perspective, make decisions in the present. This perceptual shift fundamentally alters the energetic field from which you're operating. Imagine you're already the prosperous version of yourself, looking back at the present moment from that perspective of already realized abundance. From that viewpoint, What decision would you make? What action would you take? What opportunity would you recognize as the turning point that changed everything? This technique isn't merely an imagination exercise, it's a literal recalibration of your personal electromagnetic field. By practicing it consistently, you begin making decisions that are aligned not with your perceived current limitation, but with the abundance that already exists as potential in your timeline. One participant who applied this approach described her experience as changing the glasses through which I saw my financial world. Suddenly, opportunities she would have dismissed as impossible began to seem not only possible, but inevitable. Decisions that would have previously caused her anxiety, like investing in her education or negotiating a better salary, now flowed naturally from a place of tranquil confidence. And what's most fascinating is that nothing in her external reality had changed yet. The transformation began completely in the realm of her consciousness, and only then did the external world begin reorganizing to reflect this new internal frequency. This leads us directly to the final revealing secret the manuscript exposes with a clarity that has transformed thousands of lives. Money has a secret code that responds to a specific frequency of consciousness, a frequency this audiobook teaches you methodically to master. Imagine for a moment that money isn't really paper, coins, or numbers on a screen. These are simply the external symbols, the physical manifestations of something much more fundamental, a coherent energetic pattern in the unified field of consciousness. This energetic pattern, like any frequency in the universe, responds to resonance. Just as a tuning fork vibrating at a certain frequency will automatically make another nearby tuning fork tuned to the same frequency vibrate, the energetic pattern of money automatically responds to those who are vibrating in its harmonic frequency. The manuscript reveals that this specific frequency isn't that of desperately wanting, nor that of working tirelessly, nor even that of morally deserving. It's a composite frequency made up of specific elements like internal alignment, confident receptivity, self-valuation, expansive gratitude, and recognition of universal flow. Most traditional methods for generating prosperity address only the external mechanisms, strategies, tactics, systems, while completely ignoring this fundamental vibrational code that governs the entire process. It's like trying to tune a radio station by manipulating the speakers instead of adjusting the dial. What's revolutionary about the audiobook is that it specifically trains you to recognize, tune into, and maintain that precise frequency that resonates in perfect harmony with money's energy. It's not abstract or purely theoretical training. It's a step-by-step process that literally recalibrates your nervous system, your neural patterns, and your personal electromagnetic field to vibrate in perfect coherence with abundance. Once you master this specific frequency of consciousness, prosperity manifestation stops being a struggle or a mystery. It becomes as natural and automatic as breathing, something that occurs without effort, without resistance, as the natural expression of who you are, essentially. The mastery of this inner technology represents a quantum leap in your capacity to consciously participate in the creation of your material reality through the precise application of consciousness principles that bridge ancient wisdom and modern science. Write in the comments, "I'm unlocking the code," as a declaration of your intention to tune into this transformative frequency of consciousness. Now, I want to share with you an impactful analogy that the manuscript uses to illustrate the prosperity manifestation process in a way you've probably never considered before. This comparison not only clarifies the underlying mechanism, but creates a completely new perspective on how abundance really works. Imagine for a moment that financial prosperity is exactly like the process of growing a fruit tree. Most people are constantly focused on the fruits, the money, the possessions, the external symbols of wealth. They spend their entire lives trying to pluck fruits from trees that don't belong to them, or worse yet, trying to stick artificial fruits to branches that can't naturally sustain them. The true master of abundance, however, understands that the process begins much earlier and much deeper with the seed. The seed represents your consciousness, your fundamental beliefs, your essential identity in relation to prosperity. When you plant an apple seed, you don't need to convince it to produce apples instead of oranges. Its DNA already contains the perfect pattern to manifest exactly what it's programmed to create. In the same way, when your consciousness is aligned with the vibrational frequency of abundance, you don't need to struggle to manifest prosperity. It's simply the natural expression of who you are, essentially, the inevitable fruit of your state of being. The soil in this analogy represents your subconscious, the fertile field where your consciousness seed is planted. If that soil is contaminated with limiting beliefs, unexamined fears, or scarcity programming, even the best seed will struggle to flourish. The soil preparation work, the reprogramming of your subconscious that the audiobook guides meticulously, is perhaps the most crucial and most frequently ignored aspect of the entire process. The water and sunlight represent your daily practices. The specific techniques like prosperity breathing or millionaire meditation that constantly nourish your consciousness seed and create optimal conditions for its natural expression. And here comes the most profound revelation of this analogy, the gestation time. In our instant gratification culture, we expect immediate results. We plant the seed today and get frustrated if we don't see a fully developed tree tomorrow. However, there's a gestation period during which the most crucial growth occurs underground, invisible to the naked eye. During this phase, apparently nothing is happening on the surface, but underground, the seed is undergoing a fundamental transformation. It's putting down roots, establishing its support system, preparing for the eventual emergence that will seem sudden to the casual observer, but is simply the culmination of a natural process that has been developing all along. This understanding completely transforms our relationship with manifestation time. It stops being a period of anxious waiting and becomes a sacred time of gestation where you deeply trust the natural development process that's occurring even when you can't yet see external evidence. What makes this analogy so powerful is that it reveals the true nature of the manifestation process. It's not something you do, but something you allow. It's not something you force, but something you cultivate. It's not something you desperately pursue, but something you naturally express from your deepest essence. This understanding leads us to a concise but profound summary of the most powerful laws and principles the audiobook reveals. The manuscript shows us that money, in its essence, is not a limited resource we must compete for, but an energetic expression of value that responds directly to our vibrational frequency. We learn that true financial transformation begins not with external strategies, but with a fundamental recalibration of our consciousness about prosperity. We discover that money flows not toward those who desperately pursue it, but toward those who know how to receive it, aligning with its natural frequency. We learn that our relationship with money is simply a perfect mirror reflecting our relationship with ourselves, and that by healing this internal relationship, we inevitably transform our external experience. The manuscript dismantles the debilitating myth that wealth requires constant sacrifice and presents us with the liberating concept of aligned effort, that sweet spot where our natural gifts meet the world's needs. We learn that the "I'll be happy when I'm rich" mentality is precisely what creates the perfect vibration for abundance to continue eluding us. And we discover how to cultivate the emotional state of prosperity now, regardless of our external circumstances. We learn precise techniques to reprogram our subconscious, from millionaire meditation to the prosperous void technique, tools that allow us to literally recalibrate our energetic field to resonate in perfect harmony with abundance frequency. And perhaps the most profound revelation We discover that money is not the final goal, but simply a natural byproduct of our personal evolution, an external expression of our internal growth and our capacity to contribute authentic value to the world. The integration of these principles represents a complete paradigm shift in how we understand and interact with the fundamental forces that govern material manifestation in our reality. Write in the comments, "This resonates with my truth," as a declaration of your connection with this transformative wisdom. Now you find yourself at a genuine turning point, a moment of decision that could fundamentally alter the trajectory of your financial life. You can continue with the same beliefs that have limited your prosperity until now, beliefs you probably didn't even choose consciously, but absorbed from your environment, your education, and your cultural programming. Or you can open yourself to this new wisdom, to this revolutionary understanding of how abundance really works at an energetic and vibrational level. This decision is deeply personal. It's not about discarding everything you've learned previously or denying the validity of your lived experience. It's about expanding your perception, adding a new dimension to your understanding of prosperity that could potentially transform not only your financial reality, but your complete experience of abundance flow in all areas of your life. I recognize that as you listen to these principles, your critical mind is probably generating objections, questionings, and doubts. This is natural and healthy. It's part of your discernment system trying to protect you from potentially misleading information. Let me address some of the most common doubts that arise when people first encounter these teachings. The first objection many experience is, "That sounds too simple," or "too good to be true. If manifesting abundance were as straightforward as changing my vibrational frequency, why isn't everyone rich?" This is a valid question that the manuscript addresses directly. The answer is twofold. First, most people have never been exposed to this knowledge. They operate exclusively from the effort-reward paradigm because it's the only thing they've been taught. And second, even among those who encounter these teachings, relatively few are willing to do the consistent internal work necessary to recalibrate decades of limiting subconscious programming. The transformation the manuscript facilitates isn't easy in the traditional sense. It requires a deep commitment to your own unlocking and expansion. The difference is that this internal work, unlike perpetual external struggle, eventually leads you to a place of natural flow where prosperity becomes the spontaneous expression of who you are, not something you must constantly fight for. Another common objection is, "I've tried visualization techniques and positive affirmations before, and they didn't work for me." The manuscript clearly distinguishes between superficial positive thinking practices and the transformative work of vibrational recalibration. Traditional affirmations and visualizations often fail because they attempt to overlay new conscious programming over a subconscious that remains firmly anchored in limiting beliefs. It's like trying to sail with the anchor firmly stuck in the ocean floor. The protocols the book teaches work at a much deeper level. They don't simply try to convince your conscious mind of new possibilities, but access directly the fundamental layers of your subconscious programming and recalibrate your energetic field from the root. This is the difference between painting the walls of a building with unstable foundations versus completely rebuilding those foundations. A third doubt that frequently arises is, does this mean I should give up practical action and simply vibrate higher? Absolutely not. The manuscript never suggests abandoning concrete action in favor of a purely energetic approach. Rather, it reveals that inspired action that naturally arises from a state of internal alignment is infinitely more powerful than frantic action motivated by fear, scarcity, or desperation. Imagine launching an arrow. You can push the arrow with all your strength using only your arm, or you can place it in a tensioned bow and simply release. The first approach requires enormous effort and achieves moderate results. The second uses natural laws of physics to achieve exponentially greater results with minimal effort. This is the difference between action from struggle and action from alignment. What the manuscript really offers isn't a magical solution or a shortcut, but a fundamental paradigm shift about how prosperity works. It's not about denying the reality of the physical world or the importance of practical action, but about understanding that these external manifestations are the natural result, not the cause, of your internal vibrational frequency. The journey toward this new understanding requires courage. The courage to question everything you've been told about how money works. The courage to experiment with approaches that might seem counterintuitive. And the courage to trust in principles that operate beyond the purely material realm. Behind every transformation lies a moment of choice, a crossroads where old patterns meet new possibilities, where familiar limitations encounter unexplored potentials for expansion and growth. Write in the comments, "I'm ready for expansion," as a signal of your willingness to explore this new paradigm of prosperity. Now I want to paint you a vivid picture of how your life could be after applying the transformative teachings of this audiobook. Imagine waking up each morning with a profound sense of sufficiency and peace in relation to money. It's not that your external circumstances have changed dramatically overnight, but your internal experience of those circumstances has transformed. Fundamentally, that knot in your stomach you used to feel when checking your bank account has been replaced by a tranquil confidence. Financial decisions that previously provoked anxiety, from everyday purchases to major investments, now flow from a place of clarity and alignment. Instead of feeling constantly divided between what you want and what you believe you can afford, you experience a new integration between your desires and your capacity to manifest them. You observe with amazement how opportunities that had always been technically available but that you had never perceived begin appearing in your field of consciousness. It's as if you had been wearing a filter that only allowed you to see a certain spectrum of possibilities. And now that filter has been removed, revealing a much broader panorama of paths toward prosperity. Your relationship with work transforms. You no longer feel like a hamster on a wheel, struggling to stay afloat. Instead, you experience your work as a natural expression of your gifts, a channel through which you can contribute authentic value and receive abundance in return. Even before you might make a complete career change, you'll notice that your experience of the work you already have begins to transform subtly. Financial synchronicities become a regular part of your experience. That unexpected client who appears just when you needed them, that perfect opportunity that arises at the exact moment, that resource that manifests precisely when it's required. You'll begin noticing these patterns with such regularity that eventually they'll stop seeming like coincidences, and you'll start recognizing them as the natural operation of a universe that responds precisely to your new vibrational frequency. Your relationship with others becomes more authentic and expansive. By freeing yourself from the scarcity mentality, you no longer feel you must desperately compete or hoard resources. You discover yourself genuinely celebrating others' success, recognizing that prosperity is infinitely expansive, not a zero-sum game. This openness creates a completely new relational field that naturally attracts connections and collaborations that amplify your prosperity. But perhaps the most profound transformation occurs in your relationship with yourself. That critical internal voice that constantly questioned your worth, that made you feel you were never enough or didn't deserve exceptional abundance, gradually dissolves. It's replaced by a quiet but unshakable recognition of your inherent value. This fundamental shift in your self-perception literally alters the electromagnetic field you emit to the world, creating a domino effect of transformation in all areas of your life. And now, with complete honesty and respect for your freedom of choice, I must point out the inherent urgency of this decision you face. Each day you continue operating under the old paradigm of scarcity, struggle, and devaluation is literally another day of lost abundance that you can never recover. It's not simply about unmanifested financial resources, although that's certainly part of the equation. It's about days, weeks, months, and potentially years of experiencing a relationship with prosperity characterized by anxiety, limitation, and constant effort, when you could be living from a place of flow, expansion, and natural receptivity. The question you must ask yourself with complete sincerity is, can you really afford to wait? Can you justify postponing this transformation, knowing that each day of delay is another day you continue vibrating at a frequency that guarantees the perpetuation of your current financial limitations? I'm not suggesting you should feel pressure or anxiety about this decision. That would simply perpetuate the same energetic field of scarcity we're talking about transcending. Rather, I invite you to consider this urgency from a place of tranquil empowerment. Your time is literally the most valuable resource you possess, and how you choose to invest it energetically fundamentally determines the quality of your experience in all areas of life. The good news is that change can begin right now, not tomorrow, not when circumstances are perfect, but in this precise instant. You can make the decision at this moment to open your consciousness to a completely new understanding of how prosperity works, and begin aligning with the universal laws that govern its manifestation. The profound shift in consciousness we've been exploring represents more than just a new way to think about money. It's an invitation to participate more consciously in the fundamental creative processes that shape material reality itself. Write in the comments, "My transformation begins now," as a declaration to yourself and to the unified field that you're ready for this profound paradigm shift. And so we reach the culmination of this journey through the secrets of the manuscript that has transformed so many lives, including my own. If you've made it this far, it's not by chance. There's something in this message that has resonated deeply with you, a truth you perhaps already knew at the soul level, but needed to remember. I'd love to know that you've reached this final point of our journey together. If so, write in the comments, "The code is activated." This will help me recognize those who have truly absorbed these complete teachings and allow me to connect more deeply with you in future videos. If this content has touched something within you, has expanded your perspective, or has offered you a new way of relating to abundance, that small gesture of hitting the like button is a way to create a virtuous circle of value. It not only helps me reach more people who could benefit from these teachings, but energetically represents your own act of gratitude and receptivity. Two frequencies powerfully aligned with prosperity. The transformative journey we've explored together reveals that your relationship with money is ultimately a gateway to understanding your relationship with your own creative power, your inherent worth, and your capacity to participate consciously in the unfolding of abundance in your life. What began as an exploration of financial principles has revealed itself as something much more profound, an invitation to step into your authentic power as a conscious creator of your reality. The manuscript's deepest teaching is that prosperity is not something external you must capture or achieve, but rather the natural expression of your alignment with the fundamental creative forces of the universe. When you operate from this place of alignment, abundance flows not as a reward for struggle, but as the effortless expression of your authentic being. The tools and techniques we've discovered, from the 7-day protocol to the millionaire meditation, from prosperity breathing to the prosperous void technique, are not merely methods for manifesting money. They are technologies of consciousness that recalibrate your relationship with the very fabric of reality itself. They represent practical applications of principles that bridge the gap between ancient wisdom and modern understanding of how consciousness shapes material experience. As you begin implementing these practices, remember that transformation is rarely linear. There may be moments of profound breakthrough followed by periods of integration. There may be old patterns that resurface, not as setbacks, but as opportunities to apply your new understanding at deeper levels. This is all part of the natural process of evolution that occurs when consciousness expands beyond its previous limitations. The most important insight to carry forward is that you are not a victim of circumstance, but a powerful creator of experience. Your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and vibrational frequency are constantly sculpting your reality, including your financial reality. With this knowledge comes both tremendous responsibility and unlimited possibility. The journey ahead involves not just the application of techniques, but the cultivation of a fundamentally different way of being in the world, one characterized by trust rather than fear, receptivity rather than desperation, and alignment rather than struggle. This shift in being naturally gives rise to new ways of doing that are infinitely more effective and sustainable than the old paradigms of forcing and efforting. As you step forward into this new understanding, you join a growing community of conscious creators who recognize that true prosperity is not just about personal abundance, but about participating in the creation of a world where abundance can flow freely to all. Your individual transformation becomes part of a larger evolutionary movement toward a more conscious and prosperous humanity. The secrets we've uncovered are not meant to be hoarded, but shared, not kept hidden, but lived openly as an example of what becomes possible when human consciousness aligns with the natural laws of abundance that govern our universe. Write in the comments, "I'm ready to live this truth," if you feel that inner calling to step fully into this new paradigm and begin experiencing life from this expanded understanding of your creative power. The ripple effects of this transformation extend far beyond your bank account balance. When you truly embody these principles, you become a living demonstration of what's possible when someone aligns with the natural laws of abundance. Your very presence begins to inspire others, not through preaching or convincing, but through the quiet confidence and natural flow that emanates from your being. People around you will notice something different, though they may not be able to articulate exactly what it is. There's a quality of ease in how you move through financial decisions, a lack of the anxious energy that characterizes most people's relationship with money. This shift creates a permission field for others to begin questioning their own limiting beliefs about prosperity. Your family dynamics transform as you release the scarcity programming that may have been passed down through generations. Children, especially, are incredibly sensitive to the energetic field around money. When you operate from abundance consciousness, you're literally interrupting generational patterns of financial limitation and creating new possibilities for those who come after you. Professional relationships take on a different quality as well. When you're no longer operating from desperation or fear-based competition, your interactions become more collaborative and creative. You find yourself naturally attracted to opportunities that are aligned with your authentic gifts, and you begin attracting partners and clients who operate from similar frequencies of integrity and abundance. The transformation also reveals itself in how you approach challenges and setbacks. What previously might have triggered panic or despair now becomes information to navigate from. When you understand that your external reality is constantly responding to your internal frequency, temporary difficulties become opportunities to refine your vibrational alignment rather than evidence that the principles don't work. This deeper understanding illuminates why some people can apply every technique perfectly, yet still struggle with lasting transformation. The difference lies not in the mechanics of the practices, but in the depth of integration at the identity level. surface-level application of abundance techniques while maintaining a core identity rooted in scarcity creates internal contradiction that prevents sustainable change. The manuscript's most profound gift is its ability to facilitate transformation at the cellular level, where your most fundamental beliefs about yourself and reality are stored. This is why the changes that occur often feel less like learning something new and more like remembering something you've always known but had forgotten. As this remembering deepens, you begin to recognize the signs and synchronicities that indicate you're moving in harmony with the flow of abundance. These aren't random coincidences, but precise feedback from the universe about your vibrational alignment. Learning to read these signals becomes a navigation system for making decisions from your highest possibility rather than your historical limitations. The journey of embodying these principles also reveals the sophisticated interplay between individual consciousness and collective reality. As more people align with abundance consciousness, it creates morphic fields that make it easier for others to access these same states. Your personal transformation contributes to a larger shift in human consciousness around wealth and prosperity. This understanding brings with it a profound sense of responsibility, not the heavy burden of obligation, but the joyful responsibility of conscious participation in evolution itself. You begin to see that your prosperity is not separate from the world's prosperity, that your abundance creates space for others' abundance, and that your joy and fulfillment contribute to the elevation of consciousness on the planet. The practical implications of this shift touch every area of life. Decision-making becomes clearer as you learn to sense which choices align with your abundance frequency and which perpetuate old patterns of limitation. Relationships naturally reorganize as you attract people who resonate with your new energetic signature, while others who were only connected through shared struggle may naturally drift away. Behind all of these external changes lies the fundamental recognition that you are not separate from the creative force of the universe, but an individualized expression of it, with the same creative capacity operating through your consciousness as operates through all of manifestation. Write in the comments, "I am one with abundance," to declare your recognition of this fundamental unity with the creative source of all prosperity. The mastery of these principles creates what I call the abundance spiral, a self-reinforcing cycle where each manifestation of prosperity strengthens your confidence in the process, which elevates your frequency even higher, which attracts even greater abundance. This is the opposite of the scarcity spiral that traps most people, where financial challenges reinforce beliefs in limitation, which lowers their vibration, which attracts more challenging circumstances. Understanding this spiral effect reveals why initial small shifts in consciousness can lead to exponential changes in external reality. It's not that the universe suddenly decides to favor you, but that you've entered into conscious partnership with laws that were always operating. You've simply learned to work with them rather than against them. This partnership requires developing what I call abundance resilience, the capacity to maintain your elevated frequency even when external circumstances temporarily don't reflect your new internal state. This resilience is crucial during the integration period when old patterns of reality are dissolving and new patterns are still crystallizing. During these transition phases, you might experience what feels like chaos or uncertainty as your life reorganizes itself around your new vibrational set point. Relationships that no longer serve your highest good may end. Opportunities that seemed stable might disappear to make room for better ones, and you might find yourself questioning everything you thought you knew about how life works. This is actually evidence that the transformation is working, not that it's failing. The universe is clearing outdated structures to create space for what wants to emerge. Learning to recognize these clearing periods as positive signs rather than setbacks is essential for maintaining your trajectory toward greater abundance. The advanced practitioner learns to navigate these transitions with grace, understanding that temporary discomfort often precedes quantum leaps in manifestation. They develop the capacity to hold their vision steady even when external evidence suggests otherwise, knowing that reality is always catching up to consciousness, not the other way around. This level of mastery also brings the recognition that true abundance encompasses far more than financial wealth. Money becomes simply one expression of a much larger flow of universal supply that includes perfect health, harmonious relationships, creative fulfillment, and spiritual expansion. When you're aligned with the source of abundance itself, all forms of prosperity become available. The deepest teaching of the manuscript is that scarcity is always an illusion, a misperception based on identification with form rather than source. When you recognize yourself as the consciousness through which abundance flows, rather than the personality that must acquire abundance, the entire game changes. You stop being someone who has or lacks money and become someone through whom money flows naturally. This shift from having to being, from acquiring to expressing, represents the ultimate freedom from financial anxiety. No external circumstance can threaten your security because your security is rooted in your connection to the infinite source of all supply rather than any particular form that supply takes. The practical implications are profound. You make decisions from expanded awareness rather than contracted fear. You take inspired action that feels energizing rather than forced action that depletes you. You create from overflow rather than attempting to fill an inner void through external accumulation. This transformation also reveals the interconnected nature of all abundance. Your prosperity supports the prosperity of others, not through sacrifice or giving away what you don't have, but through the natural overflow of your aligned state. When you're truly prosperous at the consciousness level, you become a source of abundance for everyone around you. The ripple effects extend beyond your immediate circle as you contribute to shifting the collective consciousness around wealth and prosperity. Each person who embodies these principles adds to the critical mass that makes abundance consciousness more accessible to humanity as a whole. This understanding brings profound meaning to the journey of financial transformation. It's not just about improving your personal circumstances, but about participating in the evolution of human consciousness itself. Your prosperity becomes an act of service to the greater unfolding of possibilities on Earth. The mastery of these principles represents a return to the natural state of humanity, beings who create through consciousness rather than struggle through limitation, who prosper through alignment rather than suffer through resistance. Write in the comments, "I choose conscious prosperity," to affirm your commitment to this path of awakened abundance and your role in the larger transformation of consciousness. The elegance of this system reveals itself in how effortlessly life begins to flow once you've mastered these fundamental principles. What once required enormous mental energy and emotional strain, worrying about bills, strategizing for financial security, anxiously monitoring market conditions, becomes as natural and unconscious as breathing. Your prosperity operates on autopilot, sustained by the invisible infrastructure of consciousness you've constructed. This state of effortless abundance often surprises people who have spent years believing that financial success requires constant vigilance and struggle. The transition from effortful manifestation to natural flow marks the difference between someone who is applying techniques and someone who has become the technique. You're no longer doing abundance practices, you are abundance in practice. This embodiment level brings with it a quality of unshakable peace that transcends external circumstances. Market crashes, economic uncertainty, or unexpected expenses no longer trigger the old fear responses, because your sense of security is anchored in something much deeper than any particular financial structure. You've discovered the difference between feeling safe because of your circumstances and feeling safe regardless of your circumstances. The advanced practitioner learns to read the subtle energetic signatures that precede physical manifestations. They begin recognizing the early warning signs when their vibration starts to drift toward limitation, allowing for course corrections before those frequencies crystallize into unwanted experiences. This early detection system becomes increasingly refined with practice, eventually operating below the threshold of conscious awareness. This sensitivity also extends to reading the abundance potential in any situation. Where others see obstacles or limitations, the awakened prosperity consciousness perceives hidden opportunities and creative possibilities. This isn't naive optimism, but a trained capacity to recognize the malleable nature of reality and the multiple potentials existing within any given moment. The social implications of this transformation often surprise people. As you embody these principles more fully, you naturally attract a different caliber of opportunities, relationships, and experiences. The universe doesn't make distinctions about worthiness, but it does respond precisely to vibrational signatures. When you consistently emit the frequency of abundance, you become visible to abundance in all its forms. This visibility works both ways. You begin recognizing abundance that was always present, but previously invisible to your scarcity program perception. Resources, connections, and possibilities that existed in your environment all along suddenly become apparent. It's as if someone handed you a new pair of glasses that reveal a completely different landscape of opportunity. The phenomenon extends to time itself. Many practitioners report that time seems to expand when they operate from abundance consciousness. Projects that previously felt rushed and stressful begin flowing with perfect timing. Deadlines become dance partners rather than adversaries. This isn't about managing time more efficiently, but about aligning with the natural rhythms that govern manifestation. The deeper you go into this work, the more you realize that prosperity consciousness is ultimately about coming into right relationship with the creative force of existence itself. Money becomes a gateway into understanding how consciousness shapes reality at the most fundamental levels. What began as a desire for financial freedom evolves into a profound spiritual awakening. This awakening often brings unexpected gifts beyond material abundance. Health improves as stress patterns dissolve. Relationships deepen as you release the desperation that distorts authentic connection. Creativity flourishes as you're no longer constrained by survival fears. Purpose clarifies as you align with your authentic contribution to the world. The integration of these gifts creates what mystics have called the abundant life. Not abundant merely in material terms, but abundant in meaning, joy, connection, and creative expression. This is prosperity in its fullest sense, where material abundance serves the expansion of consciousness rather than being pursued as an end in itself. As this integration deepens, many practitioners discover they've stumbled into something far more significant than a financial strategy. They've found a technology for conscious evolution, a practical mysticism that bridges spiritual awakening and worldly effectiveness. The boundary between sacred and secular dissolves as prosperity becomes a spiritual practice, and spiritual practice becomes inherently prosperous. This convergence reveals the ultimate teaching hidden within the manuscript. There is no separation between consciousness and manifestation, between inner transformation and outer abundance, between personal evolution and material prosperity. They are different faces of the same fundamental reality expressing itself through awakened human awareness. Write in the comments, "I am awakening to true prosperity," to acknowledge this deeper dimension of the transformation we've been exploring together. As we move toward the completion of this transformative journey, I feel compelled to share one final revelation that emerges only after deep integration of these principles. There comes a moment in every practitioner's evolution when they realize that the entire quest for abundance was actually the universe's ingenious way of guiding them back to their own true nature. The initial desire for financial freedom, the frustration with limitation, the longing for prosperity, all of these were breadcrumbs leading you toward the recognition of your inherent creative power. What seemed like an external pursuit was actually an internal homecoming, a remembering of capacities that were never absent, only temporarily obscured by layers of conditioning and false belief. This recognition brings with it a profound sense of completion, not because you've acquired something new, but because you've reclaimed something that was always yours. The abundance you've been seeking wasn't hiding in some future achievement or external circumstance. It was the very consciousness through which you were conducting the search. You were never separate from what you sought. You were simply learning to recognize your true identity. This understanding transforms the entire context of manifestation work. Instead of trying to get something from the universe, you realize you are the universe, expressing itself through individualized awareness. Instead of attempting to attract abundance, you discover that you are abundance taking temporary form as a human being. The shift from seeking to being marks the culmination of the spiritual journey that was hidden within your financial awakening. The practical implications of this realization are staggering. Decision-making becomes effortless because you're no longer torn between competing desires. You simply follow the natural impulse of your expanded awareness. Action arises spontaneously from clarity rather than being forced from confusion. Life becomes a creative dance rather than a strategic battle. This state of being naturally generates what others perceive as miraculous manifestations, but to you, they feel like the most natural thing in the world. When you're aligned with the creative principle itself, creating abundance is no more difficult than creating a thought or a feeling. It's simply another expression of the infinite creativity that you are. The transformation also brings a deep sense of service to something greater than personal gain. Your prosperity becomes a vehicle for uplifting consciousness, inspiring others, and contributing to the elevation of life on earth. Money flows through you for purposes that extend far beyond personal comfort or security, though those needs are naturally met along the way. This expansion of purpose often leads to the discovery of your unique contribution to the collective awakening of humanity. The skills, insights, and gifts that emerge from your abundance journey turn out to be exactly what the world needs from you. Your personal transformation becomes inseparable from your service to the larger transformation of consciousness happening on our planet. The manuscript's ultimate teaching reveals itself. Prosperity consciousness is not a tool for getting what you want, but a pathway to becoming who you truly are. The abundance you manifest externally is simply the reflection of the abundance you've discovered internally. The freedom you create financially is a stepping stone to the freedom you recognize spiritually. As this integration deepens, many practitioners report a quality of profound gratitude that goes beyond thankfulness for specific manifestations. It's gratitude for existence itself, for the intricate perfection of the system that guides every soul back to their essential nature through whatever experiences are necessary for their awakening. This gratitude becomes a constant background frequency that further amplifies your creative capacity. You're no longer creating from a sense of lack, but from overwhelming appreciation for the gift of conscious existence. This shift in motivation transforms the quality of everything you manifest, infusing it with a richness and depth that transcends mere material accumulation. The journey comes full circle as you realize that the book, the teachings, the principles, all were simply temporary scaffolding to support your remembering of what you always knew at the deepest level. The external teacher was awakening the internal teacher. The outer abundance was reflecting the inner abundance. The material prosperity was expressing the spiritual prosperity that is your birthright. This journey of remembering transforms everything, yet paradoxically, nothing needs to change on the surface. You simply begin living from a different place within yourself, and that shift radiates outward, touching every aspect of your experience. The same life, the same circumstances, the same relationships, but now infused with a quality of awareness that recognizes the abundance that was always present. If you've stayed with me through this entire exploration, if something within you has been stirring and awakening as we've traveled together through these revelations, you're clearly someone who's ready for a deeper understanding of how consciousness creates reality. The fact that you've absorbed all of this content tells me you're not just casually curious about prosperity, you're genuinely committed to transformation. I'd love to continue sharing these discoveries with you. This channel is dedicated to exploring the intersection between consciousness and manifestation, between spiritual awakening and practical abundance. If today's journey has resonated with your soul, I invite you to subscribe so we can keep uncovering these hidden truths together. There's so much more to explore about how awareness shapes experience and how awakened consciousness naturally creates prosperity in all its forms. For those who've made it all the way to this moment with me, write in the comments, "This message was meant for me." When I see that phrase, I'll know you're part of our community of conscious creators, and it helps me understand the depth of connection we're building here. And if this exploration has touched something real within you, if you felt that recognition of truth that comes when consciousness speaks to consciousness, that little heart button below is your way of saying yes to more of this kind of content. Your engagement creates an energetic bridge that allows these teachings to reach others who are ready for this level of understanding. There's a video right here that dives even deeper into the practical application of these consciousness principles, specific techniques for maintaining your elevated frequency even when the world around you seems chaotic. It's the perfect continuation of what we've explored today. Click and continue with me over there, and let's keep expanding this understanding together. Remember, you're not here by accident. You're here because some part of you knows it's time to step into the fullness of who you truly are. And that journey of becoming is the most beautiful adventure consciousness can undertake. Until our next exploration together, trust the process, honor your awakening, and know that your prosperity is as inevitable as your next breath when you're aligned with the truth of what you are.